Hi, today's masterclass is about anxiety and stress. And hang on, let me just share my screen so we can all see it. So, yeah, it's about understanding anxiety and stress and how to deal with it. So, in today's class and talk today, we're going to understand how anxiety and stress affects our mind and body. And we're going to learn techniques that we can use each day and just sort of get our head around it actually and what's going on. I love this quote. I know probably some of us have heard it before, and we all know about that, things don't make us happy, but the happiest people don't have the best of everything. They make the best of everything. And sometimes we have to just sit and think about that, because it's very easy to compare and want more, or want more for ourselves, which can also cause a lot of anxiety and stress. So let's start from the beginning. So what is the difference between stress and anxiety? It's been talked about a lot at the moment, and we're more aware of it, but they are very different things. And we're going to break it down today and go through it. We're going to go through how just everyday stresses can then come into anxiety and what it does to the body and why it's happening to us. But not just the physiological and that sort of side of it with stress. Stress is actually wanting the present moment to be something it's not. So we're getting stressed over something because we don't want it to be this way, or we want it to be something else, and that's creating stress. And it's instead of accepting the way the moment is. Anxiety and worry is creating a narrative in the mind of what will happen, and then that emotion kicks in, i.e. fear, abandonment, or etc. And then that just reinforces the narrative. And that's where the CBT therapy comes in, and some of you have heard me talk about NATs, the negative automatic thoughts that come in, and that's where anxiety and worry kicks in. So we need to be aware of what our mind is doing, because a lot of the suffering can come from this. So how does everyday stress become anxiety? So when life becomes quite busy and we feel there is not too much going on, and we're unable to say no, that's a big thing. We're all wanting to do things, be there, and we keep saying yes to things instead of no, that's not right for me, or no, I don't really want to do it. A lot of stress comes in. So the everyday stress is driven by the mind and the body in overload. And when it's in overload, this is when fight or flight kicks in. So what is fight or flight? A lot of you have heard about it. The fight and flight response is something that's been designed to cope with stressful situations and dangerous situations. And let me just see if I can move. Yes, I can move that a bit for you. There we go, so you can see. And as you can see from the chart, fight or flight is where you get a stressful situation or a dangerous situation, and the cortisol level pumps into the body and spikes. This then helps us deal with that situation, and then we're meant to leave and flight, run away, and we calm back down. But when the cortisol levels are pumping in, the response is flooding the changes of our hormones and different things going around the body to prepare us to cope with the fight. it covers all bases. It improves the blood flow to the areas that needed, as in the muscles and everything, so we can react. It keeps the body cool and provides us with more energy. So when we need to run, we've got the energy. We've got the energy to, if we were being attacked by a tiger when it is dangerous, to have that energy to attack. And it helps you see and get the brain going, so you can see things more clearly and respond better. And it improves our mindset. But like I said, when the situation is over, the cortisol level drops and the body calms. So actually, the fight or flight, which now we're all thinking is a bad thing, is not. It actually was designed greatly for our body to cope with a dangerous situation. But what has happened is that we've started to have more stresses in our day. So long-term stress, I've realized I missed the N on long, sorry, on the thing. Long-term stress is what it's doing to us now, is that we are going in, as you can see from the chart, we're going into fight and flight and stress over things that are going on every day. And the cortisol level is pumping, but we're not dropping. Because life is going so much faster, we slightly drop and then we're just going up and down. And because then this carries on and the cortisol level just keeps pumping, after a while that cortisol level starts sending a chemical to the brain. And now the brain thinks that this is normal. So everybody goes, oh, I can do 6 things at once and I get on so much better when there's a lot going on. So you've got one extreme that's fighting with the whole, sorry, hi Carried. I don't know if you can hear me. Are you on mute? Let me see if I got you on mute, or you shouldn't be. But if you can see me, that's great. So the fight, sorry, where was I? The brain thinks this is normal, and this is carrying on. And so everybody's coping with everything, or think we're coping with everything. So, but what's happened is, because this is staying up on the higher level, the cortisol is still pumping around, and like we said, what it's doing is it's sending blood and oxygen to certain parts of the body. But why it's doing that, it's then shutting down other parts, as in the spleen and the kidneys and the intestines and the bladder area and all this. So then that's not functioning properly. And if that's going on all the time, and we're then eating, grabbing some junk food or having a coffee and a glass of wine and all these stuff, which I'm not saying are bad, but we're having that quite a lot because we're running on adrenaline and the body's on slow down there, it then can't cope. So this is why a lot of people are getting a lot of illnesses and stomach problems, because all the other organs are being drained and then having to cope with other stuff. And we're all starting to get depleted. This is why you're hearing a lot more when you go to the doctors or anything, and they're asking if you're stressed when you're not well. So we're not dropping as low. So long-term stress is now actually starting to affect us and affect the immune system and just a whole lot of us functioning. So then long-term stress is becoming anxiety. And how does that work? Well, like you can see from the chart, stress equals fight or flight. Long-term stress equals fight or flight malfunction, a high level of cortisol. Fight or flight malfunction equals chemical to brain, which is then thinking it's normal. But long-term chemical to the brain then starts sending a toxic, which is then clouding the brain. And this is where we can't think clearly. We're looking at things just from the wrong angle and getting ourselves worked up. We can't then always function properly because we're on, the brain's not thinking clearly. And then we come into the cloudy brain and feeling overwhelmed. We've got the chemical pumping to the brain, causing a cloudy brain. We're unable to then think straight. We're unable to make the right decision. So then we feel overwhelmed. Because we're feeling overwhelmed and stressed and anxiety, the chemical sends more, the chemical sent to the brain, causing cloudy brain, and we go round in circles. But what's happening, because this has all become normal, because we're all running around a lot or feeling that we should be doing things, we're unaware that we can't think clearly. So then we get frustrated and angry because things aren't starting to go right and we're not making right decisions. And then the anxiety kicks in again. Here on this table, you can see some of the different things that happen through anxiety and what it does to our body. You've got our thoughts and emotions, some symptoms to the body, and then behaviours that we do. If you just take a minute and have a look through and see what actually goes on with you. Is it the thoughts that you're thinking that, what if I don't do this right? What will people think? God, I need to just get out of here. I need to escape. I'm feeling overloaded. What if I'm not able to cope? Something awful is going to happen. The emotions, we get anxious, scared, nervous. We can get really irritable. And we can also get depressed. The physical things we can have is a faster heartbeat, physical tension, dizziness, hot sweats, and tunnel vision. And then with behaviour, we can avoid situations. I mean, we can all come into being just shutting down, thinking I'll deal with that later, I'm not going to deal with it. But then it actually becomes a bigger problem, and then our anxiety kicks in more because we've not dealt with it, and then the situation just goes around in circles. Some people, it can be increase in smoking or drinking to calm themselves and not to deal with the thing. They can get angry and start arguing a lot, or talking fast or doing things fast because they're always on the go, trying to keep themselves busy so then they don't have to deal with stuff. And you can also get over or under eating. This section of this is not for you to start panicking about, oh my God, this is me, you know, I must have anxiety, it's really bad. It's just making you mindful of what it's actually doing to you. And when we're aware of what it does to us, instead of using it as an excuse, we need to look at it and go, that's what it's doing. Oh, I'm nervous. Okay, I'm nervous. I need to express that. Or I'm feeling anxious. Or God, I'm irritable. Instead of just getting irritable and lashing out, I'm irritable because of this or because of that. And then use it wisely. Or express to people why you're feeling like that. And if it's avoiding things, a situation or something that needs to get done because you're feeling you can't do it or you're not going to do it right, be open and honest and talk to people and ask for help. Instead of getting yourself worked up and making a drama out of something, if you actually just sit back and ask people, the situation is shared and it becomes easier, and then you learn how to do it. And sometimes we will talk about later on, it's just accepting this isn't my strong point. I need help with it. So this section, like I said, is just about sort of just making yourself aware and just sort of, you know, taking that in and thinking about it, being mindful of what's going on in your body. So how can we start letting go of the stress and anxiety? You know, fight or flight, like we were saying, the fight or flight response was designed for danger. And we're not living in a dangerous world, but we're living in a stressful world, or so they say. Is that true? Because if it's about the mind, is it stressful? Or is it what we're creating to be stressful? So, like we were saying earlier, if stress is wanting the present moment to be something it's not, we're creating some stress. We might not like a situation, but sometimes if we can accept it, not because we're going to be happy about it, but this is where we are and I need to get through it, the stress isn't quite so bad. I listened to a talk on TED Talk years ago about someone that was studying stress and how they were saying that stress was bad for you and they'd been telling it for years, but then they started to realize that it's bad for us when we don't deal with it. You know, we can have some stress because that's life. It's not flat calm. It's how we look at it. And then if we're looking at it different and more calmly, the fight or flight doesn't kick in so much. Or we accept that the fight and flight is going to kick in because it's a stressful moment and I need to do that, but I need to give myself time after instead of running and keep going. So trying to accept the moment for what it is, the present moment, and thinking, okay, I don't like it, but it will change, or how can I change it? How can this be different? Or what do I need to accept? Am I being a tunnel vision or just expecting it my way to cause the stress instead of being a bit more relaxed about it? And then obviously with anxiety and worry is creating that narrative, and that is going into the automatic negative thoughts, which is going to be another masterclass on, where we then start breaking them down. This is an automatic thing will kick in, a narrative will kick in, or you will start going, this isn't going to go right, what if this doesn't go right? So we're creating a situation because it's coming from fear or abandonment or just feeling lack of control. So because then, like we were saying, those emotions kick in, then the narrative is just reinforced. Again, it's being aware and just sort of, okay, I feel that it's going to be scary or I'm worried, but what can I do about it? Is there anything I can do about it? Yes, then do it. Is there nothing I can do about this at the moment? No, and accept that. Because it's when we don't accept, we create a bigger problem. So we're saying it's about being mindful. Mindfulness is about being aware of how we feel that day, what we want, and is that expectation too high? Again, I was listening to another talk and they were talking about how they were using meditation and mindfulness with army people for the coming back from the war and dealing with stuff, and they done studies with them about meditating and everything. And years later, one of the guys that was originally on the first study had gone back to the university and spoke to him. And he said that all what he'd done was great, but he realized previously, a few weeks before, that he'd understood what mindfulness was. He'd had a accident. He was on his bike. He was knocked off a push bike by another car, and the car drove away, and he was left on his own. And he went into the whole thing of going into panic because he was hurt and everything, and he was on his own on the side of the road. And all the things he'd taught himself over the years made him able to stop for a sec and go, okay, I'm panicking because I'm on my own. I'm panicking because I'm hurting. I'm panicking because I have a pain in my chest. I'm aware of the fear. So mindfulness brought him into, this is what you're upset about. This is what you're panicking about. And because then he took himself away from that, he was able to then go, I need to get my phone. I need to call an ambulance. I need to get help. And he said that mindfulness is not about sitting and just meditating at the right time. It's being able to look at yourself and accept where you are and dealing with it at that time. So what I would like to do, this exercise, I think some of you have seen me do before. This is always a good one when I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed and I need to stay focused. This one is really good. It's in the 5-day workbook, How to Stay Calm, Positive and Focused as well. It's in there to do every day as well through the 5 days. And this is about each morning asking yourself, what sort of day will I have today? And it can be a real simple thing as I want to be happy, or I'm going to be focused today, or I'm going to, could be a bit more details of I'm going to do some exercise, I'm going to join in more, or anything like that. But it's also about saying, what sort of day am I going to have today? And if that's waking up and going, oh, it's a bad day today, it's not just saying, oh, I'm in a bad day. The answer is not, I'm going to have a bad day. The answer is, okay, I'm having a bad day. So what do I need to do? What sort of day do I need to have today if I'm having a bad day? Or I need to be restful, or I need to give myself time in between doing something because I know I'm not functioning properly. We have a rule in our house of speaking up and saying how we feel. So instead of lashing, we turn around, and me and my son over the years have turned around and gone, you know, you can feel yourself go. So you go, I'm struggling today, I'm not having a good day. And any of you that know me from the car accident and the head, there's some days my head doesn't function. There's some days I wouldn't even be able to hold this masterclass because I wouldn't even be able to speak properly. And yesterday, my brain wasn't on function. I'm not sure why. I'd had a good night's sleep, but there was a lot going on and I just couldn't think straight. So on top of that, someone asking me a question, I wasn't always finishing my answers. So because of that, we learned to speak up and go, I'm not having a good day today, or don't ask too much of me because I'm struggling already. And I taught my son to go, I'm tired. So I was aware he was tired. So if I asked him to do something and instead of snapping, I was more aware that I wasn't pushing him or I realised that he wouldn't have done it straight away because he's tired and not thinking straight, or, you know, to say, I'm struggling with this. And it's a hard thing to do. And it takes a lot of practice. And sometimes you're so in the moment, you're unable to be aware of it. And that's when you go back and you, I think, great of apologising. I'm really sorry, didn't react greatly because I'm struggling today, or I'm having a bad day, or I've got a hell of a lot going on. And I was listening to Bernice Brown as I was working the other day. I had her playing away in the background, and her husband have this thing, because they're both busy and they have kids. They will walk in and go, things aren't great. For example, her mum had been ill and she'd walked in and said to her husband, I'm on 10%. She said, because no one can be 100% and no one can always be 50-50 in a relationship or in a household. And that doesn't matter if that's with kids or partners or husbands and wives or anything. I'm on 10%. So she says, sometimes he goes, I've got your 90, don't worry, I've got your back. Sometimes he'll reply, well, I'm on 30, we're not even hitting 40 here. So they sit down because they're aware that there's an overload going on and they're not on their full capacity. And then they will say to the kids, I need or we can't run you here today because of this. Oh, where else do we need help? Okay, for some of us, different lives, but you know, oh, well, we need to get the cleaner in one more day, or do we need to get so and so to pick up this for us, or okay, this night and this night's going to be takeout night. So they sit and they're very honest about how they're feeling. So I'm not in a good space, I'm overloaded and worried that we've got a busy week and I'm not sure if I can handle this. Be honest about it, you know, and when we're open and honest, the pressure goes. So this is about being mindful. So work out what your day is. And when you do that, it's easier to function instead of trying to be something you're not. So then at the end of the day, go back and say, what sort of day did I decide to have? Did I actually listen to myself or look at myself enough this morning to figure out what works best? Or what happened? And if it was, well, I really wanted to take some time out, but I didn't, or I was unable to, why was that? Okay, is that something I just need to accept? Or what did I not do right? Did I grab something that was bad for me to eat, which then made the situation worse? Looking at it at the end of the day is not a criticism. It's about learning from it and how can this work for me? But again, also accepting. So acceptance of who you are, how you feel that day, that week, that month, and what works for you. Just because someone else is doing something, it doesn't mean you have to. We all have to live our life our way, to the right way for us. So let's be kind to ourselves and stop fighting life and yourself, so life isn't such a struggle. So some of the next steps you can do, like I said, the How to Stay Calm, Positive and Focused 5-day workbook is the download. If you're on the in the membership group, that's up there, up in the topics, and you can download that at any point and start working on that if you want to. Or you can go to the website and get it from my website. The self-help download is also all about anxiety and stress. Some of it is what we've talked about today, but there's lots of other sections in there. The automatic negative thoughts and getting a balanced life, but also there's recordings of meditations that you can do, just short ones to help you through your day. There's some breathing exercise videos and a few stretching exercises to help keep you calm. I've also got my Discover a Happier You online program, which is like the online course that you can tap into, and you can, it's a 6-week course, but the Discover a Happier You can do at your own speed whenever you want. So it will get sent to you, but you can work through it and progress through it whenever you want and go through lots of different stuff to create a happier you. Or the Kickstart program is the online program, but with one-to-one coaching. So as we go over the 6 weeks, every 2 weeks you get a coaching session with me, and I help you through what's going on. And we work through each stage together. So you get a lot more support with the Kickstart program. Or also there's the one-to-one coaching, which can help you cope with your stresses and dealing with things on a daily basis. I give you more tools and techniques and help you put them into your everyday life. The coaching is 6 months to a year, because I believe that if we work together for a longer period, they become a new habit. If you just work and get given these things, we don't always carry it through. So if you really want to change the way things are, that's the one-to-one coaching, because we will ingrain it into your life and you will see when to use it, when not to use it. And we go through all the different stages. So when you have your blockages, we work on those together. So for any of you that haven't seen the website or not on any of the Facebooks, or you don't have my email, there's all the information. I hope you enjoyed this masterclass today. I know not all of you can join at this time, but watch it back and put any feedback underneath of the video. That'd be great. I'd love to hear what you thought of it and what you have to say. And I will see you next month with my next masterclass. Take care.